Hi, my name is Blake Thornburg, and this is my special education interview video. First thing I talked about with my administrator, my SPED teacher, and my para is just how to find kids. The administrator said it's really important. We kind of run on what are their scores, how are they doing, how have they been doing. Is this a short-term problem, or is it over a course of a couple of years? So he wants to look at those MAP scores. He wants to look at any kind of data that we already have, see what kind of accommodations we've had. He also mentions our SIT team and our teacher requests. Our SIT team is a group of teachers and SPED teachers, regular ed classroom teachers, that come together and will start filing the paperwork, making accommodations to see if a kid is available for an IEP. Our SPED teacher talked about there's multiple ways, whether it's a doctor's note, teacher references. A lot of them come from the teacher references. They notice a kid struggling. They've tried a bunch of different ways to get the kid to improve, and it's just not working. And there are a couple of those parents that see their kid are struggling and want to make changes, want to see some kind of accommodations that can set up their kids for some success. She had also mentions kids who have come into our school that have doctor's diagnosis of ADD, ADHD, right away are going to be helped and assisted. We can also talk to our school psych, and they can run our kids through a set of tests to see kind of where they're at and to see what we can do in our specific building to help those kids out. When I talked to my para, she's kind of new to the building. She's kind of new to this whole SPED system that we have. So she really wasn't sure. She kind of guessed, well, maybe we teacher requests, parents. She wasn't really sure, but she's learning, and she's more than willing, and she's a great help in the classroom. Just not really sure on how she ends up working with these specific kids. Most challenging part of their role with special education, the administration talked about it is a lot of work to get kids signed up, to get kids all this help. There's paperwork, there's meetings, there's getting everyone there, getting everyone on the same page, communication. He kept going back to communication this whole time, and I will talk about communication through this whole process and how big it is. But just getting the teachers to communicate to the SPED to communicate to the administration, and everyone to communicate with the teachers. There's a whole lot of communication, a whole lot of hoops to jump through to get these kids help. Again, with the SPED teacher, she kept going back and showing me these folders that are thick with paperwork and signatures and making sure everything is done by the book so that we can actually get these kids help. She talked about you need to be organized. That can burn someone out real quick. Is if they're not organized and they're constantly looking for everything, it makes it even harder to get these kids help that they desperately need. And the para, she kept going back to, she talked about, well, when she goes into a classroom, she doesn't know, for one, what from the SPED teacher, what exactly she needs to do. What is she expecting on a day-to-day basis? And then going from one teacher to the next, doesn't know, hey, this teacher wants me to do this. This is what I'm expecting in this classroom. This is what I'm expected in this classroom. Lack of communication between SPED teacher and para, or teacher and para, is huge for her. She wants to know what we're expected, and she's more than willing to do it. She just needs to be asked and talked to about what's expected of her. The most rewarding job, this was the same across all three, from the administrator, the SPED teacher, and the para, is just seeing that kid light up when I finally figured it out. That was huge for them. They liked seeing the growth from this kid struggling, this kid's possibly failing, to, hey, they're seeing steps, they're seeing progress, they're seeing this kid grow in front of their eyes and finally figure out, hey, I know how to do this. Hey, this is working. That was huge between the administrator, the teacher, and the para. Some advice. I'm always constantly getting feedback. I'm constantly trying to improve myself. So this was huge. This was really good help. For my administrator, he talked about a lot of stuff it's in the details. It's knowing those IEPs. It's knowing what the SPED teacher expects. The kid needs help. These parents know these IEPs in and out. So you need to know the details, what's expected, what you need to do, and have a plan for it. He kept saying, failure to plan is planning to fail. If you don't know and you don't have a plan, and you don't put it in place, then you're just going to fail. Lack of planning is going to be detrimental to not just yourself, but the kid as well, because he's looking for you or she's looking for you for help, and you need to be ready for it. The SPED teacher is to know what the paras need in your classroom. They said, these paras are great, we have great paras, but they need some guidance. They need to know they don't want to step on anyone's toes. You need to let them know what you expect, what you want your classroom to look like, and they will be more than willing to help you out. Again, with the para, communication. She's there to help out that student. She's there to help you out to make it easier for you, but you need to communicate with them. You need to let them know, hey, this is what I expect. This is what I want my day to look like. This is what my classroom to look like. And they are going to work their tails off to make that happen. How they talk with parents and how they communicate with the parents is huge. The administrators, his big thing is just to let that parent know, hey, we're going to do whatever we can to get this kid caught up. We're going to do whatever we can to help out and get this kid on the right track. Anytime there is a change in an IEP, or anytime there is an IEP meeting or anything, constant communication with parents. And letting that parent know, hey, I'm here. If you need help, if you have questions, I'm here for you. And then to actually follow through with that. And if they call you, call them back. If they email you, reply as quickly as you can. But also let the parents know, I'll get to it. It just may take me a little bit of time. Something my SPED teacher talked about that she did was she sends out a letter. And in that letter it says, hey, this is a little bit of background information on me, personal, school, anything, but it just gets everything off to a real great start. Those parents understand this is who's going to be working with my kid on a day-to-day basis. And again, that communication comes into play. Got to have open lines of communication and have some kind of working relationship with the parents so that they trust you, that you are going to be doing the best job you can to help out their child. The para, again, doesn't really have a whole lot of communication with the parents. She kind of knows some background information just from living there. She lived in Tonganoxie for a really, really long time, so she knows the families, but she doesn't have a whole lot of communication with the parents. How to work with the regular education teachers with students with special needs. The administrator is constantly encouraging co-teaching. They want that SPED teacher not to just, hey, come in, hey, come with me and bring the kid out of the room. They want to be co-teachers and teach lessons together to help out each other, whether it's me going into their room and helping out on my free time, or them coming in, working with the SPED students, but also if the regular education student needs help too, being available to help them out. Again, the communication comes into play as well. The SPED teacher wants the education teacher to, hey, this is their background, this is what their home life is. Any kind of irregularity that is going to be helpful, some background information that regular education teachers gonna want to know. They also come into our PLCs every single day, every single Wednesday. The SPED teacher is there, and she's letting us know what's going on with her and her schedule in her room and her paras, and we're letting them know what's going on in our classrooms. And again, that communication is huge. If you can communicate, a lot of these problems will be able to solve themselves. The para, again, she wants to know, hey, how'd the class go? What did you think? Hey, this happened with Johnny today. If we don't know what's going on, we can't help it. She works one-on-one with a lot of these kids, and they can have some kind of bond, and they'll let them know, hey, this happened last night, and she can kind of pass that along to me, and that'll help us with these kids, and also just kind of see how they're doing and just keep them on track. Advice for administrators. This was big. Talking with the administrator, he says, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. It's okay. That's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to learn. Don't be afraid to ask a question. If you don't know, don't just wing it. Call somebody, whether it's the SPED teacher, a para, other administrator. Call them. Get the help that you need. And then get involved. Get involved before the meetings even happen. get involved during the meetings and after the meetings. Don't just sit there like a stump on a log. And also look for ways to better yourself through PD, through any kind of training classes, anything you do, but always continue your education. The SPED teacher talked about understanding how just the SPED classroom is set up. SPED classrooms are set up differently than regular classrooms, and a lot of administrators don't understand that. But also, she had mentioned it's huge. A lot of time with, especially our building, we have a huge building. We have 3 administrators in our elementary building alone. Those kids need to see the administrators. They need to see them from when they're kindergartners. Even if that principal isn't their principal, they need to see them around. That's going to get those kids so much more comfortable with that administrator. And then the para, this was great. This was getting everything set up. Have a plan in place. If you don't plan, you're going to get lost and you're going to be less effective. And she also wants feedback. She wants, hey, how am I doing? Hey, what do you want me to do? Or how am I'm working with the kid today? But just have constant feedback from that administrator and just say hi, be friendly. Roles between the special education teacher and the building principal. When talking to my administrator, his roles for the SPED teacher is getting a plan, putting it in place, knowing the responsibility, and just kind of being that mediator between the school and the parents. They're going to be in contact way more than anybody else. So kind of be that line of communication. For the principal, it's just to help out everybody. Make sure that everyone has the resources they need, and if they don't have them, find a way to get them. And if there's a problem, the special education teacher has, the para has, the parent has, the teacher has, just kind of find a peaceful way to solve those problems. When talking to the SPED teacher, their role, again, is to just make that plan, make sure it is a plan that is able to be put in place with the resources and the amount of paras we have, the amount of teachers we have, but make sure that plan is actually achievable. And yet again, with the principal, be available, be able to help out whenever they need to. With the para, the roles of both the principal and the teacher is just work as a team. Let them know, hey, how are we doing? What's going on here? And just know we're all working together to get some success for these kids. Some characteristics. The same characteristics that came along with everything, whether it was the administrator, the teacher, the para, was being a good communicator. That's huge. If you are able to communicate and know the struggles of what's going on, or just know, hey, I'm going to be gone today. That's huge. The administrator we talked about, when he's making those mistakes, he wants some feedback. He wants to know, hey, what am I doing that's working? What am I doing that's not? He wants some constant feedback at all times. The para, she was great. She wants to know, hey, this is what my plan is, and just be open and honest with her at all times. And that is my entire video. Thank you for watching.